Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take a closer look at one of the most striking events in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, the day Ukraine took aim at the Crimean Bridge. Rather than simply recounting the incident, we'll explore it the way we might review a complex product or landmark achievement, carefully examining its exterior, its interior workings, its performance under pressure, its safety features, its unique selling points, its true cost, and ultimately, the conclusion we can draw about its place in history. This approach not only helps us understand what happened, but also why it matters to the wider world and to the balance of power in the region. From the outside, the Crimean Bridge has always been a spectacle of engineering and symbolism. Stretching for almost 19 kilometers across the Kerch Strait, it links Russia's Krasnodar region directly to Crimea, which Moscow annexed from Ukraine in 2014. When it was unveiled, Russian media celebrated it as the longest bridge in Europe, an architectural marvel that showcased national pride and technical strength. The exterior impression was more than concrete and steel, it was a physical claim. Every arch and span told the story of Russia's determination to solidify its control over Crimea. To Russian citizens, the bridge was a proud landmark, a visible demonstration of connection and unity. To Ukrainians and much of the international community, however, it was a provocation, a towering reminder of occupation and an unwanted extension of Russia's influence. That clash of perceptions meant that from its very first days, the bridge was never just an infrastructure project. It was a target in waiting, a symbol too powerful to be ignored. Inside, the Crimean Bridge carried far more than just cars and trains. It carried the very lifeblood of Russia's logistical and military operations in Crimea. The interior function was simple but crucial. Dual roadways for civilian vehicles and a parallel railway line that could handle heavy cargo, tanks, ammunition, and essential supplies. Every day, convoys of trucks and freight trains crossed it, ensuring that troops stationed in Crimea were resupplied and that the peninsula's population remained connected to the Russian mainland. While the exterior gave off the impression of permanence and strength, the interior made it clear that this bridge was not just symbolic. It was practical, necessary, and deeply strategic. For Ukraine, this meant that the bridge was more than just a piece of concrete, it was the beating heart of an enemy's supply line. When we consider performance, the Crimean Bridge was originally built to withstand storms, heavy traffic, and the test of time. It performed well in its early years, carrying millions of cars and tons of cargo without incident. Yet, performance under the conditions of war is very different from performance under peacetime. The moment Ukraine targeted the bridge, its weaknesses began to show. The strike caused visible destruction, halting traffic, delaying supply convoys, and disrupting the flow of reinforcements. Russia suddenly found its supposedly untouchable asset performing poorly under the most critical test imaginable. It wasn't only a practical failure, it was a psychological one. If the bridge could be hit once, it could be hit again, and that uncertainty reshaped the way Russia had to think about moving troops and materials into the region. Performance, in this case, was measured not just by functionality, but by resilience, and resilience was clearly in question. Safety features were always advertised as a key part of the Crimean Bridge's strength. Russian officials boasted of round-the-clock surveillance, patrol boats in the water below, constant monitoring from security services, and air defenses designed to shoot down incoming threats. In theory, this made the bridge one of the most heavily guarded structures in the region. Yet safety on paper is different from safety in practice. The successful strike revealed that despite layers of defenses, no fortress is impenetrable in the modern era. Drones, missiles, and special operations teams all represent new kinds of risks that traditional security systems cannot completely stop. For ordinary Russians, this was a shock. They had been told the bridge was unbreakable, that it was safe beyond question. For Ukrainians, the incident showed that ingenuity and determination could overcome even the most guarded of targets. In the wider world, military experts pointed out that the safety of infrastructure in wartime is always relative, never absolute. What made this event stand out were the unique selling points, the aspects that made it more than just another military strike. The first unique element was symbolism. Ukraine was not simply damaging a road. It was striking at the very heart of Russia's claim to Crimea. Every crack in the concrete echoed as a challenge to Moscow's authority. The second was timing. The attack came at a moment when Russia needed to project strength, and instead it was forced to acknowledge vulnerability. The third was psychological impact. For Russia, the bridge had been a proud symbol of permanence. For Ukraine, hitting it turned that symbol into a reminder of weakness. For the international audience, the message was clear: Ukraine had both the reach and the will to strike where it mattered most. That combination of practical damage and symbolic weight gave the event an outsized influence compared to other battles or bombings in the war. Price is where the story becomes even more complex. On a financial level, repairing the bridge ran into billions of rubles. Reconstruction required massive resources, manpower, and time, all while the war continued elsewhere. But the deeper price was not measured in money. The strategic cost to Russia was immense. The strike undermined confidence, disrupted logistics, and forced military planners to rethink their reliance on the bridge as a secure supply line. It also weakened Russia's narrative of control. Meanwhile, Ukraine paid a different kind of price: high risk. By targeting such a high-profile asset, Ukraine signaled escalation, which carried the danger of harsh retaliation. Yet for Ukraine, the symbolic and strategic gains outweighed the risks. The world's attention turned once more to Kiev's resilience, while Russia was put on the defensive both militarily and diplomatically. The price was steep for both sides, but the value of the strike to Ukraine's overall strategy was undeniable. In conclusion, the day Ukraine took aim at Russia's Crimean Bridge was not just an isolated military action. It was an event that carried layers of meaning, from the concrete reality of damaged infrastructure to the intangible realm of pride, perception, and symbolism. On the exterior, the bridge had always appeared strong and immovable, a steel and concrete statement of dominance. On the interior, it served as a lifeline, pumping supplies and reinforcements into Crimea. Its performance under pressure, however, faltered, and its safety features proved insufficient against modern warfare tactics. The unique selling points of this strike, its symbolism, its timing, and its psychological impact, elevated it far above the level of an ordinary attack. The price, measured in money, strategy, and credibility, left both sides changed, though in very different ways. What we learn from this review is that no structure, however grand, can be separated from the forces of history. The Crimean Bridge was built as a monument to permanence, but the strike against it revealed that permanence is an illusion. In war, even steel bends, even stone cracks, and even symbols can be shattered. For Ukraine, this was a declaration of resilience and capability. For Russia, it was a reminder of vulnerability and the high cost of projecting strength in the modern world. For the rest of us, it is a lesson in how infrastructure, politics, and symbolism are all intertwined in the battles of today. And with that, we come to the end of this deep dive. If you enjoyed this explanation and want more breakdowns of major world events told in clear and thoughtful detail, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update.